Hello, and welcome to another episode of Never Go Against the Family. We're coming to you live from the University of Northern Iowa Family Business Center in Cedar Falls, Iowa. We follow family businesses and topics that help your family business sustain itself.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Never Go Against the Family. I'm Dan Binkin and I'm joined by Katie Christ-Voigt. Our guest today is Marshall Rabil. He's newly named CEO of Hubb's Nuts, and we're excited to have him here with us today. Tell a little bit about their story, 65 years of growth in the peanut industry, which we're in Iowa, and I know almost nothing about peanuts. And so it was kind of cool to just do a little background research here. And Marshall, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how your grandparents started this company. I think that in and of itself is kind of a cool, unique entrepreneurial story.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you having me, Dan and Katie, and it's nice to connect with y'all. Yeah, so Dot and HJ Hubbard, my grandparents, started this business from their home in Sedley, Virginia in 1954. My grandmother was a teacher. My grandfather was an accountant and a purchasing manager at our local paper mill called Union Camp. And, my great grandfather had a peanut farm right here in Sedley, and my grandmother would go and harvest some peanuts out of the farm during the fall and had a unique way of cooking them. So she would pick the nice plump peanuts that she could find, and she would soak them in hot water and fry them in oil, as opposed to kind of what Planters was doing, which was a dry roast, so cooking peanuts in the oven.
Oh, okay.
And she would give them away. She would cook them and give them away to some of her sorority sisters and friends around the community around Christmas. And then they were like, you know what, man, these are great. Like you should sell these. At the time, the only game in town was Planters, right? And so my grandfather started taking them around to the local hardware stores and the pharmacies, and they were selling next to the register nickel bags of Planters. Well, he said, hey, these are Hubs. His nickname was Hubs because he's a Hubbard, right? And so he said, well, our peanuts are twice as big, because she picked the largest one she could find. They taste twice as good because of the crunchiness and the cook process that Dot kind of was using. So we're going to sell them for twice as much. So they were a dime.
All right.
And so that was kind of when the specialty peanut industry was born in the 50s. And it's been really fun. I'm sitting in their home right now, and we built the commercial kitchen and the warehousing onto the existing property. My mom's office, which was next door to me, was actually her childhood bedroom. So she grew up in this house and worked in this home for her entire career, which is a unique kind of homegrown American tale, really.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's kind of how that's our origin story. Prior to the internet and all of that, we kind of were scrappy and built a small mail order business through friends, and then that just kind of grew from word of mouth over the years. And then we had to have more production capability. So my grandfather worked with a local engineer here in Southampton County to develop a continuous cooker. And so we're probably on the fifth or sixth generation now of that cooking equipment, but it's nothing out of the box. It was custom equipment that was designed to cook as many peanuts in the most efficient way that we could. And so even our equipment was custom and took the help of our community to make happen. So yeah, that's kind of how we got going, and it's continued to slowly grow over the years.
Wow. At what point, Marshall, did you go kind of more commercial and large scale production, and when like I wonder how like your grandparents, or if it was your mom, like how they felt about that transition to more modern.
Yeah. So for the first 20 years, it was small. We had a few accounts, and my mom and my aunts and uncle, they would help with packaging and delivering with my grandmother. They would load up in the station wagon and go to Williamsburg and deliver peanuts. And it got to a point in the 70s where they were really starting to catch on a little bit. And so my mother also finished school and was a teacher. But I think in 1978, 79, they'd gotten to a place where they needed her to come in and kind of help more on a full-time basis. We've always been a very seasonal business. Um, we're a Christmas gift for a lot of people. We're a gift quality product with nice packaging. And so the fall of the year was always kind of, and still is, our busiest time of the year. But they were very conscious about that decision. And my grandmother stopped teaching and was doing this more full time through the 80s with my mom. My grandfather continued to work at his job at the paper mill until he retired from there, and continued to be a part of Hubbard Peanut Company into the 90s for sure. But they were, and through those years, we hired a couple of more employees, and then there's kind of the technological revolution and my aunt came and helped with implementing some of the new software that was used. So they kind of took their time and evolved as things changed around us. But it has definitely been fun to see how our business model that Dot and HJ started has really become representative of this region. There are probably 30 other companies that do the exact same thing, that using their model as far as, especially like taking super extra large Virginia type peanuts and cooking them in a unique way, and then kind of having their own little spin on it. But she created a category that has now become somewhat synonymous with Virginia products. And I think that's pretty neat because, you can argue what region of the world has the best hams or the best oysters or wines, which Virginia does well with all those. But I believe it's inarguable what region of the world produces and cooks the best peanuts. And so we're pretty proud of that history, and the fact that Dot kind of helped create that brand awareness and agricultural product to become more of a brand that is known across the country. So it's kind of neat.
That's way cool. And cool that it has you don't hear many businesses that start in the 50s being a woman founded brand. That's
No, totally not. And we're actually still, I mean, they had 4 children, 3 of those were girls. And then of my generation, there's only 3, and 2 of those are women. So we're still a majority women owned business. And wandering around our offices, we're still very much a woman led business too, on the day to day in the office. So very, very much, it is unique, when you think about all of the businesses and all of the things that women have overcome, and just being in the workplace in general in the 50s, 60s, 70s. It really is a remarkable thing that she did here in the South specifically. Yeah.
Is she still around?
No, Dot died in 2002 and HJ died in 2006. But I had a great relationship with both of them, and I would love to have a conversation with them now. But I think that they would be excited that we're continuing to build upon the legacy that they started.
Very cool.
Marshall, are there other members of your family involved now from the third generation, or are you left carrying the torch from that standpoint?
Yeah, I work with my sister and my cousin are both on our board, and they're
Okay.
both shareholders as well.
Yeah.
So our family is very much involved in kind of quarterly meetings and overall strategic planning and direction, governance, and so forth. But I'm the only one with my mom. She's an executive advisor now, which is great. And so we're still the only ones that are in the day-to-day operations. But we just had our annual meeting yesterday with all of our family, and so it's good for us to get together and continue that.
Would you mind like elaborating a little bit more on what a family meeting for you guys looks like, or a board meeting? however you call it. Just we work with obviously a lot of family businesses. A lot of our members haven't really dipped their toe into things like that. I think their board meetings are still often very informal, if they happen at all. They're very uh, close to the vest with a lot of what they might be sharing, and I'm sure a lot of times all the shareholders aren't even on the same page about where things are at, or knowledgeable about where things are at. Can you just talk a little bit about how yours has
Yeah,
evolved?
totally. So it was the second generation and my grandparents for a while, and then after they died, it was just the second generation on the board. And 7 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, we made a conscious decision that it was important to bring the third generation into the business from a board perspective. There were also only four in the second generation, so it was nice to have now an odd number. So there's seven of us, and we've been very, um, I think strategic about how we meet. I know for the next several years that our meeting date is going to be the second Wednesday of the month on the each quarter, the
Yep.
end of the quarter, and so we meet 4 times a year, and we start with kind of an update from me or from my mom on kind of the state of the business over that quarter. Or yesterday was an annual kind of report. We'll go over the financials. We'll look at kind of where we are. Yesterday was also kind of a budget meeting. So we look at our budget for the year.
Oh, you
We
can.
try to project out kind of what sales projections are going to be and what that's going to look like for a bottom line. What kind of capital expenditures do we have that we need to take care of right now? We've got a couple of roofs on warehouses that need fixing. So, what are we going to do? How are we going to expense those? Is it going to be depreciated? So
Yep.
we have those kinds of conversations. We also just hired a leadership development coach. So I was kind of talking through kind of what our executive team now is doing with him and what that's going to look like, and how because we're now a third generation. One thing that's you think about the transition from leadership from mom to son, or father to son, or daughter, or whatever. But really, in a company like ours, a second generation means you've got all of your team has basically retired. Over the last 10 years, we've retired key members of our second generation team, from customer service to our kitchen to
Yep.
warehousing to shipping. All of those roles have been something we've had to hire new folks for. So it's a good time to kind of redefine what our core values are and what our core purpose is, what our mission is. And so we've been really intentional about trying to establish that right now. And then how do we integrate that into our hiring process, our just overall culture, and our corrective actions, and all of those things. So those are things that we were discussing yesterday on, annually, because that's a new thing for us. And so, yeah, and then we pretty much wrap up, and we can do it in 4 or 5 hours, have lunch together, and it's intentional. It brings us all together. Yes, we discuss business. Sometimes it's heated, sometimes it's playful, but it's productive. And we're also currently working on a buy-sell agreement. We're trying to make sure that we've got alignment there, because obviously we all have different needs and thoughts and what are triggering events. And so we're going through
Mhm.
those discussions, which I
Sure.
think is probably pretty common with business in general,
It
family
should
business.
be,
Yeah.
should be, but I don't know if it often is.
Yeah, you probably deserve some kudos here, Marshall, for that. That's really actually not as common as you'd think it would be.
Well, we know how important it is, but it's really challenging. I mean, it's tough to bring everybody to the table and discuss what it means when we die, or how do we want to pass stock on, or who can we pass stock along to. And
Hmm.
it's not an easy conversation, but it's necessary.
So is there a fourth generation? Do you guys have any kiddos going?
Yeah, I've got two. My cousin has 3 kids as well. So our fourth generation is already larger than our second generation. My son is the oldest. He's on his way to college this fall, and he's never really thought too much about this business, I don't think. But this past year, he started to ask a few more questions. We'll see. There's zero pressure. I needed to leave and go and do my own thing, which I did for a while. And that's kind of a prerequisite too. Like he's got to go out and work for someone else, see another culture, bring something back. And I don't think he wants to move right back to Franklin, Virginia, right after college. Anyway, it's not it's a wonderful community right now, but I think in his early 20s that he'll probably want to experience something else.
Yeah. So that, I mean, unless Dan, you have another question, I think that leads me to ask a little bit about your history. Where did you go to school? How did you start your career? And how did you get to, become CEO of Hubs?
Sure. Well, born into this family, and you grow up, you always kind of wonder what your purpose is, your why. Why are you born in this community? And I went to boarding school. It was a great opportunity. So I spent my high school years at Woodbury Forest School in Virginia, which is an all boys boarding school. Went to school 6 days a week and really learned how to work, how to study, how to learn, and push myself. And that was a great foundation I went to a small liberal arts college called Sewanee, University of the South in Tennessee. So another, I think, great kind of academic institution where we had to be in class, and we were expected to be in class and expected to be prepared. So I feel like my high school and college experience gave me the opportunity to learn how to learn and learn how to work and be accountable to that. But I knew that I kind of wanted to come back here, but I also really have been intrigued by other cultures and places, and I wanted to travel. And education was the way that I was going to be able to do that. I needed somebody to pay for me to travel around the world. And my first job out of college was through the Ministry of Education in Japan. So I lived in a small village in Nishi-Yoshino. Mura is the name of the village, and Nara Prefecture, which was the original capital of Japan in the 700s. So it was a great place to explore Japan and myself, really, and study Japanese culture. While being a teacher, from English conversation classes with adults all the way down to elementary and preschool students. So that was great. I was able to base in Asia, so I traveled around Asia during breaks and holidays. And then I led college students on study abroad trips around the world. So I took a group. This was a company based out in Portland, Oregon, called Carpe Diem Education. We were accredited through Portland State University, and we spent a semester in India, in East Africa, in Central America. Then I led a trip to West Africa, to Ghana. So I spent a lot of my 20s taking students around the world, and got involved in a number of different service projects, whether it was education or healthcare or food insecurity. We always had some kind of service component to those trips, as well as some bit of adventure, homestay, language study. And so really got to understand the globe and the variety of projects that were going on and the need around the world. But as I was doing that, you realize that home has the exact same issues, right? Like you've got food insecurity right here at home, and we've got a business that is a food-based business. So I think there were ways to integrate some of those things that we were doing abroad into our business here at home. And so the last several years, we've been way more intentional about, our partnership with the local food bank. And some of the projects that we do at Hubs are very much based on the culture of integrating our business with community service kinds of projects. And so a lot of what I learned abroad is applicable to things that we're doing here currently. Prior to coming back, though, I was working on a startup business in Nashville, Tennessee, and I started working at Whole Foods Market because we were at Hubs is a direct to consumer brand, but we also do have some wholesale accounts, and I wanted to learn more about Whole Foods, what distribution looked like, how to be in those markets. And I was a specialty food buyer there, but also was really intrigued by their company culture, John Mackey's book, Conscious Capitalism, was very inspirational to me. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to work there. And so it was the experience abroad plus the working at Whole Foods. I came back and had a lot of marketing and sales ideas. We've been a word of mouth marketing has been our number one driver. It still is, but I came back with a plan to our board on an increased sales strategy and ways to develop some marketing partnerships that we hadn't been doing. And so that's what I've spent the last 10 years doing is really kind of trying to amplify the Hubs brand through strategic partnerships and with the PGA or with the tennis or with some music festivals and different arenas that make sense for us. And so that's what I've been doing. And and so I think it's kind of been the natural progression of our business for me to kind of come in. But we've also hired some really good people that have allowed me to focus on what I do well, so they can manage the production and the operations and the finance and so forth. So that's been critical for me and our growth is to continue to build really a strong team and to hire really good people.
That is great. That's really an interesting story because you don't hear many people. A lot of people either go right into the family business or right into business. So it's really cool that you had that side quest, but that was so meaningful for you.
Yeah, and it maybe at the time it didn't seem like it was going to make sense, but it kind of has. Even the leadership of the students. They were 19, college age students. But I think it was impactful, and it's still something that I really love that I did when I did it.
Yeah. Hey, Marshall, I was just going to ask you a little bit to follow up on something we talked about earlier, but you've recently taken over as CEO from the second gen, and I was just wondering if you look back over that journey, how that came about, how that went down, like if folks who are in your shoes from 5 and 10 years ago would ask you, for advice, how should I try to approach this with my parents, my aunts, uncles, whatever, the generation before me, what kinds of advice might you share with them about what can be often a tricky family business success?
Find your niche, I think. Bring something valuable to the team, to the organization that doesn't currently exist, unless or fill an existing role and really crush it and do well. But I think that's what I was able to do was kind of find an opportunity within our business that we hadn't focused on as much. And so I really, that's what I did, and I was able to get our family kind of aligned on the opportunity.
Yep.
So find something that you see an opportunity in your business and go after that.
Okay, so some of that niche can come from what did you do before you got there, and some of the learnings, either operational or innovation, marketing, whatever it might be, that you can bring and apply, which is why we always, promote and champion the concept of going and working somewhere else, right? And getting some perspective from others and that kind of thing. So I appreciate you mentioning that and giving us that. Anything your mom might share as far as, what she might think from her perspective, from her chair?
Well, she's really the reason that I'm sitting here today. As far as, she took the business from kind of the baby era through to adulthood, really. And so she has seen everything from before FedEx and UPS, before credit cards, before the internet, before all of these things. So she was really instrumental in leading the changes and building the team. So I think that she is, very much the leader of our family and of her generation from a business perspective. But it's also been, they've had to work well together. They might not agree all the time. I'm saying her and her sisters and brother, but like they through all of it, they have continued, they built something pretty special. And I think she'd be proud of where she is today. And I think she felt comfortable now, able to step down or step back because of the people that we have kind of transitioned into some key roles as we've gone through those hiring, that hiring phase of replacing the folks that have retired. I think she now feels really comfortable with the team in place, and so I'm happy that she has these years right now, hopefully, to kind of not think about this as much and travel. She's got a lot of trips planned, and I'm excited for her to get off and go and do it. But yeah,
Cool. Thanks for sharing a little bit of that. If we have time for another question, Katie, I had one on um, one follow up to something we were talking about earlier, Marshall, which was about you just had your board meeting quarterly. It sounds like it was your year end meeting as well. If you think about firms that are maybe not quite as far along as you guys, maybe they're going still from first to second gen or whatever, wherever they might be, is there any advice you'd give them as far as how to kind of somehow get started with having that kind of a shareholder conversation, getting the family together, ways that you've seen it be beneficial to you guys?
well, I mean, I think you have to have somebody leading that charge, and then you have to be intentional about actually meeting, and building out that board. I think an odd number is a good number. Do you include all of your family members, all of your shareholders? I think our size is pretty is helpful. It's not too big,
Yep.
and it's a manageable number. You don't want so many people in a room, but you need enough. But really, somebody has to step up and lead that initiative. And then, like I said, you just have to be intentional and stick to the dates. And because I think it is really important for any business to have alignment from your all of the stakeholders, right? You need to align your shareholders, your board, your executive team, and then the rest of your team that is working with you. So figuring out a way to align one another starts there with your family, and I think somebody's got to take the leadership role and make it happen.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. It's not often easy to be that family champion person pushing everybody else to do it, and
It's not.
they're constantly hurting the cats, obviously, and everybody's asking why and what a benefit is this going to be for me type of thing. Who is that person in your family?
Um, Fortunately, everybody really feels connected to our business, and I think they all want to be a part and all feel like it's part of their identity. And so, I mean, everybody wants to be involved. Now, that's the other thing. I think it's important if there's a family member that doesn't want to be involved, before you establish all this stuff, let them out or buy them out, and then because there's no need to force somebody into something they don't want to be a part of, right?
Right.
But I feel fortunate that everybody really does feel like this is part of who we are, and everybody has gone out and done different things in their life, but this is still very much a part of us. And so, but if they don't, I think that's key is don't make them, because they're gonna be disruptive in a way that is unproductive. So let them out, buy them out, let them give it to you, whatever. I think that whatever.
I'm glad you shared that. I think, yeah, it's always important to remember that, one, if everybody isn't in alignment, then you're always in this kind of misalignment and constantly bickering and that kind of thing. And that alignment isn't easy to get, and if you don't have it to start with, it takes a lot of effort to get there type of thing. So thanks for sharing that. Go ahead, Katie.
I have one final question, and that's what's on the horizon for you and for Hubs? I guess what are you looking forward to, either with the business or with the family governance side?
Yeah, well, we recently completed our last strategic plan. We needed a new space for additional production warehousing, and we have a retail space now. So we're just going to continue to try to develop that out. We did just hire a business executive leadership and development coach who's going to help us put a new operating system in place. I think I was mentioning that. But we also have a new website that's supposed to launch. I mean, it's key that our customers have an easy path to purchase, that they have a great experience when they come to our site. So continuing to upgrade technology, and just continue to expand some of the things that have been working the last several years. I'm excited about what the Hub's Vine can be as far as the venue, an event space for our community, our region, how we can integrate our brand with hospitality in general. So yeah, I'm looking forward to defining our core values, our core mission, and our purpose really, across the entire organization. And I think that's what we're going to really focus on this next year, and then hopefully just put a plan in place to get us to our 75th anniversary, which is the next milestone for us. So we're 71 right now, and so that's my focus now, is how do we get there, and what is that going to look like? So looking forward to that.
That's way cool. And I mean, seeing that and then literally you in the home of Hubs, like that was way sweet. So very cool. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us today?
No, I mean, I appreciate it. It's been good to chat with y'all, and yeah, hope you have a nice summer in Iowa.
Thank you so much for your time today, and we will stay in touch too as we get this edited and going. But again, thank you for your time, Marshall, and it's been really great to learn more about Hubs.
Yeah, sweet. Very nice to meet y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks,
All right,
man.
take
Have
care.
a good one.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Never Go Against the Family, a podcast produced by the University of Northern Iowa Family Business Center. You can find more information about the center, membership, and upcoming events at unifamilybusinesscenter.com. As Vito Corleone advises, never go against the family.